Cable Access Committee meeting. We're a little late, I apologize, but we are ready now. And let me start by reading our official message that precedes this meeting. Pursuant to the Governor's order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, GLC 30A, paragraph 20, as well as the Select Board's emergency order dated 3/16/2020, the Cable Advisory Committee will be using remote participation for this meeting. The audio of this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the town's webpage within 24 hours in accordance with the Governor's emergency action requirement of keeping the public informed of actions during this meeting. I would ask that all participants remotely attending this meeting please state your name for identification purposes each time you speak throughout the meeting. And I will start. My name is Barry Sims, 67 Dunster Road, and our other committee members are
Jay Leary, 146 Karen Circle.
Lindsay Morris, 35 Woods Crossing.
all right. Thank you all for participating. If we have some folks on the phone, we'll get to them shortly. I had previously sent out and was posted on the town website the agenda for this evening, as well as access to the remote phone access. The first order of business is do we have, well, I should ask if we have anybody either on the phone or on computer. And if we do, you should identify yourself.
I'm on computer. This is Bruce Guilfoy, 878 Highland Street.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Chris Merrill, IT Director for the town of Holliston.
Thank you. I guess that's it. Okay. I had sent out to you gentlemen previously, by the way, I should say, the object of this meeting is to go over what we've done in the past and also review, before we meet with the select board, the ascertainments and the public hearing that we held prior to this meeting. So the first order of business would be to approve the minutes of the August 13th, 2019 meeting, which I sent to you folks earlier, along with a bunch of other paper. But if anybody has any comments or changes to those minutes, please speak now. If not, I would accept a motion to approve those minutes.
Go ahead, Lindsay.
Yep, I'll make the motion to approve.
A second.
All right. Lindsay. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. These all, by the way, have to be voice votes, just in case you hadn't figured that out. Okay. Thank you. The next order of business would be a timeline, and I think I began to outline that for you. Once this meeting is concluded, if we are in agreement to move ahead with the documents that we previously received from other people, either by ascertainment or by public hearing, we will then try and schedule a meeting with the select board and have them approve it. And if they approve it, along with some suggested negotiation points for the new license, then we'll schedule a meeting with Verizon and we'll go from there. For the public, the current license expires in October of 2021, and this process starts about 3 years out in front of that. So we're heading towards the last year of their current license, and that's why we're going through this process at the moment. So that's the timeline. So to review what we've received so far, I sent you folks the information that we gathered at the public hearing, which was in August of 2019. And that included information from Mary Greendale at HCAT, the public library, some participants who were residents who were at the meeting, Lisa Hedrick from HCAT, Lisa Taylor, who is the membership chair of HMAPA, the rec department letter that we received, the public school department letter that we received, and some other testimony that we had heard at the public hearing. And if all of those are agreeable to you folks, I would ask that we accept and approve the comments that we received at the public hearing, if there's a motion to do so.
Barry, I have a question if beforehand.
Yep.
There are a couple of them. I think it was the Hedrick letter and I believe the Carol Emmons letter.
Yep.
I don't recall seeing like a date, or they weren't. They're kind of like very short letters.
Yep.
Does that impact that in any way that they would be not accepted by anybody, or?
No, I'll tell you why. Those, I believe, were part of the oral testimony
Okay.
at the hearing. And those were transcribed by the town administrator.
All right.
As part of his minutes, and he forwarded those to me to include as part of the public hearing. So those weren't letters that were received, but were rather testimony.
Awesome. If that being said, that I would make a motion that we accept those, that testimony from the people you mentioned.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Any other discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The other packet that we received, and I should give a lot of credit in this budget and ascertainment package to HCAT. We put them through a lot. They did a great deal of work on this. This is about the 10th draft that we put them through that we finally ended up with. And it's excellent. And both HCAT and Chris Mayo in the IT department did a great job on putting this together. But this is the packet that I sent you regarding ascertainments and budgets. I think I probably should go over that in a little bit of detail. I'll ask you to approve it. Because part of what we're going to try and negotiate or send to the select board to approve our negotiations is what these two groups in particular were asking for. So in addition to the usual 5% that they've been getting over the years, one of the biggest pieces would be the capital budget. Capital requirements. As you saw in their presentation that I sent you, there's substantial upgrades that HCAT would like to do as part of their studio and facilities, in part because we will be asking for an upgrade to HD for PEG access. And that's going to require an enormous amount of upgrade in terms of equipment. It also requires, from an IT point of view, an upgrade to the lines, service lines that are being used throughout the town, the intranet. There are significant amounts of monies that they've requested. Now, before you are too confused about this, when I go through the summary that we're going to go through that I'd like to present to the select board, you're going to see a difference between what the groups have requested and what we're going to present to the select board. And the difference is about half of what they're requesting. And the reason is we can only ask Verizon to give us half of what's being requested, because as you know, there are two vendors, there's Comcast and there's Verizon, and Verizon would only be requested to pay or to fund half of whatever HCAT and IT are requesting. So there's going to be a difference between what are in the ascertainments and budgets versus what we're going to suggest to the select board that we request. That said, are there any questions, specific questions on the ascertainments or the budgets?
No, I don't have
I
any.
know they're substantial, but it's the upgrade that I've just talked about that are the primary needs for the upgrades. And Bruce, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, you did it pretty well. One thing that I always wanted to ask or find out is could be any part of the negotiation to get analytics of the shows that we show on television.
You mean through the licensees?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Do you have access to that, Bruce?
Not through TV. We have, certainly we get access to everything we put on social media, YouTube, video on demand, Facebook, of course, but we don't get anything, only unless we do a survey of who's watching us on
Do you
TV.
know whether Verizon or Comcast has access to that?
That I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, well, that's.
Would
that
Chris
You
know?
would think they would. I mean,
Yeah. Sorry, Jim.
Chris,
You know, Barry, I'm thinking they might not, because this is the same discussion I deal with in Framingham too. And it's very difficult to figure out, who's watching your show.
I'm sorry, Jay.
no, I'm listening to Lindsay.
Yeah, so Framingham has that same issue. It's with Verizon, it's with Comcast, and it's with RCN, but same issues. There's just no analytics at all.
Could we ask, as there must be some
I'll
type
find
of
out. I'm
mechanism that they
sure
have to
Framingham
track
has
that?
asked. Yeah, I'm sure Framingham has asked. I will find that out.
But yeah, I think that's a good point, Bruce, and I have no problem adding it to our negotiation list and seeing if they have that documentation,
great.
because that would be interesting.
Thanks.
All right. Okay. Any other questions on the ascertainments or budgets that I sent over for your review, Lindsay or Jay?
I don't have any, no.
All right. Again, I'd like to submit those to the select board for their approval as well. And so if we could have a motion to accept those on the committees, from the committee's point of view, that would be great.
Make a motion to accept the budget and ascertainments as provided that Mr. Sims has, and
Okay, is there a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, so the final issue is, let's see. Final piece is the license summary that I'd like to suggest to the select board. And I think I sent that to you as the final piece because I was putting that together last after I got all of the ascertainments. So the broad brushstrokes are as follows. We're looking at a 5-year contract or a 5-year license, and I base that on conversations with our attorney, Bill August, who has done a number of these for a number of towns and tells me that the longest period Verizon is going for going forward is 5 years. So I've based all of this on 5 years. And we're looking for pretty much all the same things that we have now, meaning the number of channels, although I've added the request for providing HD access to the PEG channels. And as you know, we have 3 channels now. We have, we're, based on the needs that were sent over by HCAT, the Access Corp, we're asking the selectmen to approve negotiating capital infusion of $434,633 over 5 years, which again is half of what HCAT came up with as their needs, because obviously we'd be looking to share that between Verizon and Comcast when Comcast comes up for renewal in 3 years. So that's 434,000 roughly. IT department is looking to do a number of things, not the least of which is have money to repair anything that comes down off of the lines, off the poles. So we're looking for 8,500 to upgrade the fiber network to HD in anticipation of upgrading PEG, and $12,000 for their capital account to repair poles and lines, et cetera. Now, here's the twist this year versus previous licenses. The FCC has allowed licensees to deduct from PEG payments anything that they view as not PEG, public education government. So it's going to be a tricky negotiation in terms of specifically this IT request. And I suggested to Chris that maybe when we negotiate that, we try and pile that into the capital request for HCAT, and maybe have HCAT fund that over to IT, because it might be an easier sell in terms of Verizon, and it might be less of a red flag for them deducting it from the HCAT payments if it's not viewed as outside of PEG. You follow that?
Yep.
But though I wanted to break down the numbers for the select board, just so that you guys and the select board know what the breakdown is. But in negotiating it, we may pile that into the PEG capital, just because it's easier to negotiate. I'm just going through some of the other things are pretty benign on in their current license. One thing that was suggested by our attorney was in the current license, there's liquid damages of a maximum of $15,000. And I think even 14 years ago, that was a low amount. Because nowadays, if somebody's going to get sued, if somebody trips and falls or whatever, you're not even, the starting point's not even going to be $15,000. So he recommended that we remove that from the license going forward, and I think hopefully we'd all agree to that. We have a list of public buildings that receive free cable, and I'm going to rely on Chris to provide a list ultimately when we go to negotiate with Verizon. I'm going to rely on Chris to provide us a list of those buildings, because that may need to be updated from the list that was in the prior license.
Barry, report to you that is actually documented, which ones have and which ones we need and which ones we don't.
Right, no, I do have that, and I have the original list that's Exhibit B in their license. And I think for ease of negotiation, you and I may want to get together and just do a simple list of what buildings we need to have wired. But for purposes of this discussion and for the select board, I just wanted to recognize that there will be an exhibit that will show the public buildings that we'd like wired. And I haven't been specific, just that there will be a list. The final thing is on the summary list for the select board. In the past, we have asked the town administrator, we have asked the select board to ask the town administrator to submit a letter to the licensee that the 5% access fee go directly to HCAT. The way it's written in the license is the 5% goes to the town or its designee. Jay, you probably remember this. And that's the way they want it in their license.
Right.
They want the town to affirmatively say, that's fine, but we want this portion to go to this company, so that they have it on record outside of the license. And that's sort of a critical piece, because this is going to have to go before the October town meeting, ultimately. And there's a significant reason you want that 5% to go directly to HCAT. The reason is, if it doesn't, and it isn't used or isn't viewed as being used for PEG access, the licensee can request that money back. And if Verizon asks for the money back because they deem something not as being used for PEG, Comcast will do the same.
Right.
So it's a double hit. So I think it's important that we stress to the select board that they continue with that side letter that says the 5% goes directly to HCAT, for any number of reasons, not the least of which is what I just described. In any event, so that's the list of, that's the summary list that I think I submitted to you guys most recently. And I will add to that summary list the request for analytics on the PEG channels, which is not currently on here, but if you would allow me that addition after the fact, I would accept any questions or comments that you have on that list.
No, I think that list is great, especially with that addition of the analytics. Sounds like it's going to be a challenge. Lindsay seems to feel that he's having that same challenge in Framingham, so probably going to come up with any number of reasons why they can't do it, but we all know they can.
Well, look, I think if they have the information, they may be willing to share it. My concern is I don't think they track that information.
I don't think so either. That's the issue. But.
Yeah, I think if they have it, they'll share it. But
Okay. Well,
we'll put it in there and we'll negotiate that and we'll see what happens.
Right.
Anything else on this list that you want to comment on?
nope.
All right. That said, is there a motion to accept this summary list and forward it to the select board for a meeting with them to continue negotiating?
Yeah, I'll make that motion to do that.
I would second that.
All right. Any other comments? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. Is there any other business that anybody has on this agenda?
I do not.
Lindsay, you good?
I'm good.
Bruce, we cover everything?
Sorry about that. Yes, yep.
Okay.
Good to me.
Well, that being the case, I guess I would accept the motion to adjourn at 7:05.
I would make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. I appreciate your participation and probably see you at the select board meeting.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much.
Doing a great
Stay
job.
safe,
Thanks so
everyone.
much.
Thank you. Take care.
Stay safe.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.